Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack here. It's now Sunday, the 4th of August, 2024. Kind of running things here from a cruise ship, believe it or not, off the coast of British Columbia, taking my family up to Alaska and back. We get back into Seattle tomorrow, and then I fly home and get ready to head down to South Carolina for part 2 of this saga with what will be, I'm pretty sure of it, Hurricane Debby. Not to worry, though, even though I am here, we do have assets out in the field already. Got a great team of people helping out. I'll show you the 2 different camera systems that we've got set up that are going to show you the impacts from storm surge, which could be significant, of Debby down in Cedar Key, Florida, and over at Keaton Beach. I'll show you that as we wrap up today's update. The important thing, though, we need to focus on the impacts. And the storm surge is going to be a big problem for parts of the Big Bend. And then the very, very heavy rainfall, severe weather, also a problem. But then for the southeast United States, and this is what I'll be getting back in time to cover in person, will be the tremendous amount of rainfall, the urban and suburban and just lowland flooding, river flooding. That is going to be a very big part of this whole situation with Debby. It's not just going to be a coastal Florida problem. So a lot to unpack and a lot to go through here in today's update. So let's get started, shall we? Thanks for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. First of all, National Hurricane Center homepage. Let me refresh it just in case new data has come out. And it has not much change overall. Pressure still 992 millibars. Winds are 65 miles per hour. Well on its way to becoming a hurricane. And that is what is explicitly stated in the headline here. In fact, talking about it rapidly intensifying into a hurricane before landfall. And I am here to tell you, just ask the people in southeast Texas what they dealt with Beryl. An intensifying hurricane at landfall is a different beast. The wind is more pronounced. Everything just seems to be ramped up more rather than something that is steady state. Unless you're dealing with a very intense hurricane, those are bad all around. But when they're weakening or they're steady state, and that goes without saying, if it's weakening, the effects are generally less. But boy, when they are ramping up, you notice it. So get ready for that. Here's what it looks like on the True Color, as we call it, satellite animation this afternoon, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. The center, trying to get better organized right in here, still has plenty of time over that record warm water of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And it'll probably eventually develop an eye. And it looks like it's going to make landfall right up in here somewhere with that center. But then remember, this is the rest of the would-be hurricane. And you've got supercells moving on shore. One of our colleagues, CJ, sent us a picture on our Discord and on text messaging of some of that supercell activity in Florida. And hey, look, the animation is updating in real time. So yeah, this is going to continue to strengthen, continue to get better organized as it heads towards Florida. And we are going to have a lot of problems with it. That is outlined very well here in the 4 key messages. I want to break this down for you one section at a time. Right now, in terms of life-threatening issues, storm surge is the biggest concern. And that is going to take place up here, already happening all the way down in extreme South Florida, possibly all the way over to Mexico Beach. And the reason storm surge is so bad on this part of the Florida coastline is because of this continental shelf out here, the shallowness, the bathymetry, as we call it, plus the shape of the coastline overall, very efficient at catching surge as one of these hurricanes, tropical storms, whatever comes in. Anything on that right front quadrant there, where else is the water going to go but up? The highest values, as you can clearly see here, 6 to 10 feet in the Big Bend region. Luckily, not densely populated, but people do live there, and they need to be evacuating Cedar Key. I know the fire chief there very, very well. We have a camera there. I'll show you in just a moment. And then further up, Horseshoe Beach, Keaton Beach, and elsewhere, some of these camps that are down here, people are going to need to leave and avoid that surge. And even up to St. Mark's up here, maybe over to the Alligator Point region, all this area at risk of a significant storm surge from an intensifying hurricane. It looks like it's going to happen right about daybreak tomorrow. The other issue, and let me come back on here because this is really, really important. Do not ever underestimate the power of rainfall. I think we think of rain and water. I mean, look, I got my glass of water right here. It's essential to life. You see waterfalls. We go to big pools. We go to the ocean. We enjoy water, but it can be deadly when we don't treat it with respect. And we are talking now, we got some pinks and deep reds in there, anywhere from 16, possibly exceeding 20, maybe up to 30 inches of rain if this slows down and mills around too long. And that's going to be over an area of the coast, South Carolina, the low country, and elsewhere, even up to Charleston, that does not drain very well. And when you have the potential for this system to just push that onshore flow, we'll take a look at that in just a moment on the track and on the modeling, you're going to have your high tides that stay up because of that onshore flow, plus all that water trying to drain out. I believe we could have some big issues in the Battery area of Charleston, the Marketplace area there. If you know Charleston, you know what I'm talking about. All the way down to Savannah, that entire region, we call it the Low Country, Hilton Head, that whole region could get a tremendous amount of rain, and then pretty much anything in the yellow, and then all those gradient points inward, 4 inches of rain plus, maybe all the way up to the Raleigh-Durham area. And that's only over the next few days. We got to see how this thing ends up. Where does it mill around and for how long? So mark my words. I want you to write it down. The flood part of this will end up being the big story when we are all said and done with Debby. The flood part from all this heavy rain that is coming. It is very important, and that's in fact why we see the high risk for flooding over the next 5 days. If you saw a high risk for severe weather out in the plains or the deep south, you know everybody goes ape over it. They just lose their you-know-what. And same should be done for a high risk of flooding. Whether it's tornadoes or this kind of flooding, it is a high risk in terms of threat to life and property. So please take that into consideration. Don't be driving through that flood water. Don't let your kids play out in it. There's all kinds of nastiness out there. Be mindful, be aware, get to your big box retailer, go to Amazon, whatever you need to do to get you some quick dams. We've talked about them. One of our partners for flood mitigation, and they are much better than sandbags. You fight water with water. I'll put a link to their website in today's description so that you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you're new to my videos and my channel here. But take this, I mean, the pink and the red, that's bad. That means a lot of flooding rain is coming. All right, so that hopefully covers most of the impacts. And of course, with it being more than likely a strengthening hurricane, you're going to have a lot of wind. And so you're going to have down power lines, down trees, power's going to be out, that kind of thing. That just goes with any tropical system. You're always going to have wind. We know that. What I really like to focus on are the hazards that people might not really think of. Now, storm surge makes a lot of sense for people that live at the coast, but that flooding rain, we're still not grasping the concept of having to deal with excessive rainfall and the flooding that it can lead to. So that's why I'm going to really place a lot of emphasis on the fact that rain is an impact. All right? So let's look at it from one model perspective. There are a lot of models, and I'm not going to show all of them. We don't even need to look at the spaghetti models because we're getting into the time frame here where this is going to make landfall within the next 24 hours. But let's just take a look at the GFS, and let me explain a little bit about what we're looking at here. We'll use the color blue to highlight everything better. So this is a lot of energy out here. All this vorticity that we see, this is down at about 5,000 feet. We call it the 850 millibar. So if you went up 5,000 feet, your pressure sensor should read 850 millibars in a normalized atmosphere. And so this is all the energy that Debby is trying to bundle. And watch, it does so pretty darn quickly here over the coming hours when they landfall up in the Big Bend area, probably as a strengthening hurricane. And then watch what happens as we go forward. We'll get rid of the telestration here. It doesn't move quickly at all. So all that orange and red and dark red to black that you see in there, that's the energy from this system starting to unwind. So let's back it up. You see how everything is tightly packed, all these height lines in there, that is bundling the energy, concentrating it. Then when it gets over land, everything starts to unravel and that energy spreads out over a larger area. That tells me that there's going to be a lot of rain, the potential for severe weather, torrential rain, we're talking inches of rain per hour. And then if it does manage to get offshore, and let's zoom in here to the southeast map extent on the Tidbit site here. If it does manage to get offshore, let's switch over to the lower 10 meters of the atmosphere. This is pretty much where you and I live. Nobody's 10 meters tall, but you get the idea. This is basically the surface. Now this is what's problematic in my eyes. All this onshore flow. Look at these wind barbs. You can follow them around. You got that onshore flow, even up here to Cape Fear, where I live, down through the low country of South Carolina, including the Charleston area. Savannah too. I don't want to leave Savannah out, but Charleston is very, I guess we could say, infamous for flooding. And when and if this gets offshore, this is only 66 hours out, so basically 3 days out. Let's back it up just a little bit. Let me get up here where we can do that. And let's watch what happens. This comes offshore, and even if it's offshore for a day or so, all of that onshore flow to the north of that center, don't worry about the pressure. Don't look at that 994 and go, dude, you're making a big deal about this. It's like barely even a tropical storm or whatever. Forget all that. Look at this. Look at the wind that's just constantly pounding the coast here. That's what you need to pay attention to. Don't even worry about the pressure and the intensity and what category it is. Throw that out the window. Think of the onshore flow for the low country, points north, even down to Chatham County, Savannah area, sure. And then all of the rain, and let's use some green in here since rain typically shows up as green on most products, right? All this area is going to be inundated with very, very heavy rain, and that will add to the storm surge because the rain's not going to be able to drain out because of all that onshore flow keeping the Atlantic pushed up into the inlets, the river mouths, you name it, bays, harbors, whatever, and you're going to get a tremendous amount of pileup of water in here, and that is going to be a big, big issue. And we watch this over the coming days. It mills around. This is day 4, still down there with onshore flow. Finally, by day 5, it's hopefully going to start to die out. But we still have, at 10 meters, look at that. Those wind speeds, don't laugh at that. Oh, it's only 20 to 30 knots, Mark. 20 to 30 knots for 2 or 3 days of just constant onshore flow. And you live in the Charleston area, you know what's coming, especially with all of that rainfall. So please take this seriously. Forget the category, all that kind of stuff. Think of this, if you had to look at it from a category perspective just based on rain, I would put this up there to category 4 because it is going to have very significant impacts. Harvey in Houston had it just, if the Saffir-Simpson scale was about rain and rain only, we would all agree that Harvey was a category 5 for Houston. Allison in 2001, probably a category 4 for Houston just from the rain impacts. Saffir-Simpson scale is only for wind and the potential damage. All right? So please keep that in mind as we go forward, and don't take this thing lightly. You're going to regret it if you do. So what are we going to do? We're going to work through our crowdfunding folks through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/HurricaneTrack and invest and support and encourage and all that good stuff of our project. And with that, you get access to the HurricaneTrack Insider site, which has all kinds of good stuff up here on these tabs, including our exclusive, state-of-the-art, absolutely kick-butt interactive tracking map. These are the assets that we've already got down there. Good friend and colleague, fellow geographer from Brazil, Marcel, setting out these camera systems for us. Here's the one in Cedar Key. Very familiar location. Come on, pop up here, ship Wi-Fi. Let's tease it and make it start over again so it doesn't make me a liar. There we go. We have set up here. This is probably the 6th time going all the way back to Hermine in 2016 on the same utility pole in Cedar Key. That's the Cedar Key shot. We don't have the live shot from the camera just yet in Keaton Beach, but the pressure sensor is there. The camera will be up. I got to get one of our back end people to help me with that. It is up and running though, I promise. So we're going to have a great shot here from Keaton Beach, and we're going to be able to watch that pressure fall, temperature, and everything else too. We don't have any wind sensors out for this one. That's more involved. I want to be there to help with that. And plus, this part of the Big Bend region, sparsely populated, hard to deal with, especially by yourself. So Marcel did a great job getting these two assets set up for us. My plan, once I do get back, will be to monitor what's going on down here, and I'm going to really focus on probably the Charleston area. I know it well. I know people down there. I've dealt with that area also many times in the past, and I'm really worried about that onshore flow here, piling the water up in Charleston Harbor. The Battery, all that market area downtown Charleston could be in a lot of trouble with the heavy rain and the storm surge issues that could be coming. All right, well, that should just about do it. Again, a very serious situation. I just have to emphasize one more time, just forget the category stuff. It's irrelevant when we're talking about the widespread, big impacts that are going to be coming from rain and storm surge. Yes, it has wind. We know that. The other impacts, especially the rain, seems to just not be as understood as I would like it to be, and I want to change that. That's a big part of my mission here, because I've seen it. I've done this for 30 years, and I know what's coming. All right? You guys be safe out there. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. The whole family, our big community that we've got. And again, if you want to join up and help out with what we're doing investment-wise and share your ideas, get to know us through our Discord, everything else, go to Patreon. Get the Patreon app. Search HurricaneTrack, Hurricane T-R-A-C-K, just like it says down there in the left-hand corner, and you can become a part of our project. Have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll have another update for you tomorrow morning. And of course, by the way, I will be posting stuff on our Twitter, and I know it's called something else. I'm always going to call it Twitter. So be sure to follow at HurricaneTrack on Twitter, and you'll get some snapshots and other updates there as well. Now I can sign off. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack. I'll see you again early tomorrow morning.